Lecture 4, Integral Healing and Genetics. Introduction. Welcome to the Integral Healing Seminar. Today, in our fourth week, we will study integral healing and genetics in life. We often hear phrases like, it's genetic, or you can't help it, you take after your parents. We tend to believe that genes are an absolute program determining our destiny 100%. However, through today's lecture, we will change this old misguided belief. Epigenetics, the latest scientific theory, reveals the astonishing truth. Our health, disease, and even our destiny are not determined by a fixed DNA sequence. Instead, they are continuously governed and changed by our thoughts, lifestyle habits, and the external signals we receive. This lecture is composed of 5 main topics. 1. What is a gene? Understanding the blueprint. 2. Epigenetics genes are not destiny. 3. Genes respond to the external environment. Diet, exercise. 4. Genes respond to the mind. 5. Genes respond to spiritual signals. I hope this time allows you to understand the program of life within you and gain the wisdom to govern your own health and healing. 1. What is a gene? Understanding the blueprint. First, let's consider the nature of the gene. Let's compare a human being to a cutting-edge smartphone. For a smartphone to work, 4 elements are essential: the phone itself, electricity, apps, and Wi-Fi. Similarly, for a person to carry out life activities, 4 elements are needed: the physical body, energy from food, information through genes, and a supernatural life signal. The body of the smartphone is analogous to our physical body, and electricity is analogous to energy. So what are the apps that perform complex functions? They are the genes that compose our body. And the Wi-Fi that activates these apps is the external life signal we receive. Psalm 139 in the Bible confesses that our creation is fearfully and wonderfully made. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. Psalm 139:14. And God says that our substance was written in a book. Your eyes saw my unformed substance in your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Psalm 139:16. What is this book? A gene is like a sentence composed of 4 types of DNA bases: adenine A, thymine T, guanine AG, and cytosine C. A chromosome is a book that records this information, and the combination of chromosomes is like a library within a person. Letters and sentences convey meaning. Genes contain the meaning will of the Creator. Originally, this program created by the Creator was perfect. However, when humans misused their free will and were separated from God's life, the genes related to life were turned off and corrupted. But the important message of hope here is that even though the genes were corrupted, they have a modular structure that can be restored. 2. Epigenetics genes are not destiny. Our body is made up of 60 trillion cells. Inside the cells are genes, which are the life programs that control life activities. Genes determine our health and our diseases. The preemptive mastectomy and oophorectomy of American actress Angelina Jolie became a hot topic. Why did she undergo the surgery before any disease had developed? Her family carried the genes predisposed to breast and ovarian cancer. She underwent the preemptive surgeries to prevent the expression of the cancer. Was her choice correct? Her thinking was based on traditional genetics. Genes are destiny. But is that true? Epigenetics was a revolution that shook the biological world. While traditional genetics viewed the DNA-based sequence itself as determining destiny, epigenetics studies the phenomenon where the expression or function of a gene changes without altering the DNA sequence itself. In other words, the gene remains the same, but its switch is turned on or off. As in Angelina Jolie's case, even if you inherit the breast cancer gene, you can control it so that the disease gene does not express. Epigenetics declares, I inherit the gene, but I can govern its function. Let's look at some scientific studies. There were twin sisters adopted, one to the United States and one to Australia. Tracking their lives showed that the girl adopted in the US suffered from high blood pressure and diabetes starting at age 40. In contrast, the girl adopted in Australia was healthy, showing no signs of hypertension or diabetes even at age 80. The reason? The parents of the child adopted in the US focused on a diet centered on meat and fast food, while the parents of the child adopted in Australia practiced a diet based on grains and vegetables. Rick and Bill are identical twins. Identical twins typically have the same genetic makeup. However, even identical twins with 100% identical DNA show different health statuses as they age. When measuring telomere length, a marker of cellular aging, Rick's telomere age was 70, while Bill's was 41.5, a stark difference. Bill engaged in healthy eating habits and exercise, while Rick was sedentary with irregular habits. The genes were the same, but the expression of their function was completely different based on lifestyle. The agouti mouse experiment, Dr. Randy Girdle of the University of North Carolina conducted the agouti mouse experiment. He implanted the obesity gene into the cell nucleus of all mice and then artificially inseminated them. The agouti mice were divided into two groups and fed different diets. One group was given food rich in methyl donors such as folic acid and vitamin B12. The other group was given instant, processed food. The result was that the group with the healthy diet had more brown, lean mice born, while the group fed instant food had more obese offspring. This experimentally supports the fact that you inherit the gene, but its function can be turned on or off according to lifestyle habits. Genes and disease. The fundamental cause of disease is the gene. Either the gene structure is corrupted or the function of healthy genes is turned off. However, most diseases are much more often caused by acquired reasons, a functional switch being turned off, than by a corruption of the gene structure. Arteriosclerosis occurs when the gene producing the natural healing substance, called HDL, is turned off. Depression results when genes producing the hormones, endorphin and serotonin, are turned off. Insomnia occurs because the gene that produces melatonin is turned off. Bronchial asthma, atopy, and allergies also occur when genes producing immune substances are turned off. Obesity is due to the gene producing the weight-controlling hormone leptin being turned off. Recent research has even revealed that brain cells can regenerate after a stroke. Stem cells exist in the brain, and when the gene that promotes them is turned on, brain cells regenerate. Natural healing phenomena. A natural healing program is input into the cells of our bodies. When cancer cells appear, the immune system signals to turn on genes that produce natural anti-cancer agents. However, if this gene is turned off by stress or bad habits, the production of healing substances stops and the person becomes ill. The problem is not the cancer cell, but the deactivation of the immune system that repairs the gene. From an epigenetic perspective, there are no incurable diseases. The core question is, can we turn the switched-off gene back on? There is a surprising real-life example that shows that genes can change in response to external signals. The case of the desert squirrel and the rattlesnake. A surprising article about the desert squirrel was published in Science News in October 1999. A rattlesnake was observed fleeing when a desert squirrel rushed to bite it. It turned out that the squirrel was pregnant. She regulated her gene expression to protect her young. Like this, the gene is not a fixed blueprint, but a dynamic program that changes and reacts to signals for survival and the environment. The message for us is clear: whether we have a disease or not, we can turn on the life-sustaining and healing genes that were turned off, depending on what environment and what signals we provide. What are the factors that turn the gene switches in our bodies on and off? The elements that move our genes primarily work as a trinity of factors. 1. Physical element. Material factors such as food, exercise, and living environment influence gene expression. 2. Mental soul element. Factors of the soul. Thoughts, emotions, and choices of the mind regulate the gene switch. 3. Spiritual element. Supernatural signals from the outside, i.e., spiritual signals, regulate gene expression.